Bluco are evil. Hello everyone, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Bluco, who are currently Chelsea's owners. They are very infamous in the sporting world because they don't really know what they're doing. They're just some rich American billionaires that bought Chelsea. So in the video I'm going to be talking about some of the good decisions they've made and mostly about the really bad decisions that they've made. So buckle up, I hope you enjoy this video. Starting off then with the three best decisions that Bluco ever made. The first one is the signing of Cole Palmer, the second one is the appointment of Enzo Maresca, and the third one is the appointment recently of Xabi Alonso, but we shall see how that plays out. So then, starting off with the signing of Cole Palmer, and in my opinion this is the best decision that Bluco ever has made and probably ever will make. Chelsea signed him for £42.5 million from Manchester City because he wasn't getting any game time there. And in Man City's eyes it immediately proved to be a big mistake, as in his first season at Chelsea, Cole Palmer scored 22 goals and provided 11 assists. That's 33 GA in just 33 games for Chelsea. And he immediately followed it up with another good season, getting 15 goals and 8 assists, even though he did go on a really bad dry spell where he was still playing well, just couldn't find the back of the net. Although this season has been a bit of a disappointment, he's been injured. He played 26 games in the Premier League and scored 10 goals and only provided 1 assist. By the way, all of these stats were just for the Premier League. In my opinion, the second best decision that Bluco ever made was the appointment of Enzo Maresca. Chelsea brought him in at the end of the 2023-24 season after he came first in the Championship with Leicester. Chelsea had a poor 2 seasons before that, finishing in 12th and then in 6th. And he immediately made an impact, getting Chelsea back into the top 4. Alongside with that, he won Chelsea the Conference League, which we shouldn't really have been competing in. Chelsea, in my opinion, are too big a club to be going to Kazakhstan every week. And not to mention, last summer he won Chelsea the World Cup, which some people would argue is just his pre-season trophy, but it technically made Chelsea the best team in the world. So finally, the third best decision that I think Chelsea ever made is quite a recent one, and it's the appointment of Xabi Alonso. I also think Bluco did very well to appoint him, as I'm sure if Arne Slot would have been sacked a little bit earlier, he would have gone to Liverpool over Chelsea. The reason I think this is the third best decision that Bluco have ever made is because of his achievements in management. Not only was he an amazing football player, but he also upset the whole of the Bundesliga, going invincible to finally take Bayern Munich off the throne. And then the only game they lost that season was the Europa League final, which was quite unfortunate. And the only reason they lost was because of an amazing Honorary Lookman performance. And then he did go on to manage at Real Madrid for a while, but I don't blame him for not getting on too well with the disaster that's going on there right now with all the players. So, they are my 3 best decisions that Bluco ever made. Do you agree with them? Let me know in the comments. And now, it is the worst decisions. So, the worst decisions that Bluco ever made, I've managed to narrow it down to a top 3. This list really could go on for hours and hours and hours. But unfortunately, I don't have the time for that, and you don't have the time for that. The worst decision I think Bluco ever made was getting rid of Thomas Tuchel. The second is the harsh sacking of Enzo Maresca. The third is what followed after the sacking of Enzo Maresca, is the appointment of Liam Rosenior. Starting off with the sacking of Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel was appointed as Chelsea's first ever German manager in January 2021, replacing Frank Lampard after some very shaky Premier League form, and he immediately made an impact, guiding Chelsea to a third-place finish in the Premier League. And of course, winning Chelsea the Champions League in 2021, also with possibly the worst attack in history. Timo Werner and Kai Havertz up front, and you win the Champions League. That is very impressive. But a year after Chelsea's impressive Champions League triumph, Roman Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea. And then, obviously, Blue Co came in and bought Chelsea for £2.5 billion. And because Blue Co aren't very likeable people and very, very harsh, Thomas Tuchel didn't get on with them and he was forced to leave Chelsea. And ever since, Chelsea haven't actually stuck with a manager and given them time properly. The only time they did was Enzo and Maresca, which I'm talking about next. So then, the second worst decision that I think Chelsea ever made was sacking Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca was sacked by Chelsea at the start of 2026 after a poor run of form. Him parting ways with Chelsea sort of came as a shock to most fans. We were still in a good position in the league, but he still got sacked. That just shows how unradical Blue Co are. But what was to follow after him was much worse than his run of form. Yes, I'm of course talking about the infamous run we had under Liam Rosenior. 5 games in the Premier League, 5 losses in the Premier League in a row. That's not bad enough, without scoring a single goal. This was Chelsea's worst run of form since 1912. So you could say Chelsea's worst manager in the past 100 years. So, thank you for watching about Chelsea's disastrous owners. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for a video coming on Chelsea's Dream 11 under Xabi Alonso, which might be followed by a must-buy, must-sell. So, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment what you think on Blue Co. I hope you enjoyed the video.